All right, today we're going to take a look at these hot air stations. I have my beloved JBC here next to me, and then I've set up one of the Quick861DW. So we've started selling these on iPad Rehab Supply, and we have in order to custom make some bent nozzles to go with these guys. That's going to be a kind of coming soon kind of thing, where we are figuring out exactly which diameter and which angle we want to have made. So you can look for those if it's been a few weeks since this video. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at these stations. So the JBC is over here, and the Quick861DW. This one is has kind of emerged to the top as the affordable way to start learning how to do microsoldering and board repair. So you want to stay away from the $88 AOUE stations. And nobody wants to spend $1,500 on the JBC, even though I absolutely love that station. And surprisingly, we've had a couple of Quicks that we've been using in the course, and they've held up really well. So the Quick is far cheaper than the JBC. The Quick is in the $280 is I think what we sell them for. The JBC is a $1,500 station, and you'd think that two things that blow hot air would have some differences just from build quality alone. So we are going to take a look at that. So when I teach the course and we talk about picking your hot air station, why is the $88 one sort of a bad idea? And that's, if you think about the act of blowing hot air over time, I like to kind of equate it to a fire hose, trying to put out a fire with a fire hose. Something like the JBC will be very, very reproducible. So when I hit start on the JBC, it will quickly ramp up to a temperature that is really close to what I am looking at on its report of its temperature, and then it will stay very tight on that actual temperature for a long period of time. If I turn it off, do it again, it'll do the exact same thing. If you have one of the cheaper stations that blow hot air, when you hit go, it will ramp up more slowly until it gets to a set point that it thinks is what you should be soldering at, and then it will sort of oscillate. It'll kick the heating element off and cool down, then it'll kick it back on and off and on, and you'll get this sort of wavy output of temperature. And then over time, maybe there's not enough oomph to maintain that, so now your set point kind of goes down and it's oscillating at a different temperature, and then it might rest and then come back on, and then it's suddenly hot again. So it's kind of like trying to put out a fire with a fire hose where you're in control of the water flow and speed, versus one where some kid in the back is taking the hose and going like that, and you're getting a big gush, a big sort of gush burst of water, and then it trickles, and then it's gushing, and then it trickles, and that you can use, but it's really, really difficult to learn on. So let's take a look at these two stations. So what I want to do here, this is my plan. You guys can, you guys in chat can let me know what you want to see out of these. But what I wanted to do first was to just say, hey, let's use one of these little, kind of temperature doohickey things, the things that you use to check your air conditioner vents, and see if we can kind of learn anything. So what I'm going to try to do is, let's just kind of take a donor board so that we can't mess it up. And I'm going to use both the Quick and the JBC to try to take a chip off of the board. So we'll take off, both of these boards have a Mason chip, and Mason is the pretty standard chip that you would be taking off the board. So here's the Mason chip on this donor board. So we're going to put some flux on here, and I think I'll try to switch over to the hand view and see if I can take this chip off while also holding this this kind of temperature guy. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but that's going to be what I'm going to try to do. So let's fire this camera back up. It doesn't like it when I switch off of him. He's kind of prissy. Yes, I know. Settle down. You can handle it. Okay, take apart the JBC. I will not take apart the JBC. I will also not take apart the Quick. We can guess that a $1,500 station is going to have a different build quality than the, $300 station. So let's get this camera to wake back up. All right, so let's start by kind of looking at these hand pieces. So on the Quick, let me move this so that I can see what you guys are seeing as well. So on the Quick, the hand piece is heavy duty. This sounds like, this is not plastic. When I first lift the nozzle out of the hand piece, it will start the machine. There may be a setting to make it not do that, I'm not sure. And then when I put it back in, it will automatically turn off. So that's pretty cool. It doesn't give you an option to lower this down, so you're stuck with keeping it at that angle. And compare that over here to the JBC, where the JBC similarly has this kind of holster style hand piece, the hand rest. This one is adjustable, so you can change it to be more up or more down, depending on how you like it. And it has a nozzle changer, which I can't, this sounds like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. I can't stand it. But you can kick off that nozzle and then it will be down there. So let's see. Let's start with the Quick. All right. So the one thing that I really like about the Quick, let me see if I can get these hoses to not bother the camera. All right, so the one thing that I really like about the Quick are these presets. So in general, for microsoldering, you're going to be operating at 3 different temperatures, and there's these 3 different presets. So you're going to be operating at a low temperature to clear underfill, a regular soldering temperature for taking a chip off the board, and then a high temperature for taking shields off. So let me turn this off so that we can look at the actual nozzles. So the hand piece here as it comes is my least favorite thing about the Quick. It's kind of big, and it's fat, big, and the nozzles that come with the Quick as of today are straight nozzles, and it comes with this probably 6mm size, and then it comes with a smaller one and this relatively larger one. This one I think is a little too small for shield removal, so I'd like to get one when I have them make the bent nozzles for us that's a little bit bigger for taking off shields. And you can kind of see what these are made out of. That is what you're gonna get with the Quick. The JBC also comes with some nozzles when you order the JBC, and it comes with sort of the super tiny one. It comes with this straight one, and then it comes with the one that I use all day, every day, which is this one. And this nozzle has not held up well. It's not round anymore by any means, and it keeps getting dented every time I drop this hand piece on the floor, which has been many, many times. I've never dropped the Quick hand piece on the floor, so I don't know what happens if you do that. All right, let's start with the Quick then. Let me see if I can get this back in there. So let's wake him up, and let's set up our channel 1. Maybe we'll leave channel 1 to be kind of low heat underfill, and let's set up channel 2. And for a new station, you just kind of have to guess as to what soldering temperature do you want to work at. So let's take a guess. Let's set this up, and we have no idea how close the actual temperature is going to be to what it says. So let's go to 360. I think that's probably a good place to start, and we can kind of go up or down from there. So we'll go to not necessarily 360, but what it thinks is 360. And then we've got some airflow. Let's make the airflow. That's an odd, you'd think it would go from 1 to 100. Let me see what the top number is here. 120. Okay, 120 seems to be the max. So we'll pick, I don't know, let's pick 100. Let's just make up a number. 100. Nice little even number. Okay, so now I'm going to attempt to take off this mason chip over here, and I'm going to leave the camera on this sort of broad view rather than switching it over to the microscope, because I'm going to try and at the same time kind of hold up, or at least kind of get an idea on this temperature reading. So let's see if I can move this over a little bit so that you guys can see that, because I'm going to have to hold it here. I'm going to have to just probably tell you what it says. All right, so right now this thing says that it's 24.9 degrees Celsius as I point at the Mason chip itself. So 25.3 degrees Celsius on the Mason chip. You need the shoulder strap adapter for the Quick. Okay. So let's see. Let's grab the Quick, put it on channel 2, and when I lift it up, it should start by itself. All right, so we can kind of watch over here and see it coming up to temperature pretty quickly according to what it wants to tell us. Now I'm going to look under the microscope and I'm going to shine this on the Mason chip, and I'm going to see what it takes to get it hot. So this now says it's 148 Celsius on the Mason chip. Well, maybe that wasn't on the Mason chip. It's saying 79 on the Mason chip as I shine this dot on here. Maybe this isn't going to work. 90, 79, 105. This might be a bit of a blunt instrument. 113. Let me look under there. That's definitely hot enough to take that chip off. So I guess that the little air conditioner temperature isn't super accurate. So I'm going to come in here, take off that chip. All right, so that was a really fast, that was probably too high of a temperature if I had to do that again. So Mason chip is now off. So let's take a look at that. And let's see if we have any kind of signs on, this is a donor board, so it doesn't look any worse for the wear. I don't really see solder balls coming out of the Wi-Fi chip, and I don't see solder balls coming out of any of this stuff. So that seemed to be pretty straightforward. All right, let's swap that out. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of information out of our little laser temperature thing, which is kind of a bummer. All right, let's wake this guy back up. So I racked the Quick, and it is kind of automatically cooling itself down, so that's great. All right, let's see. Let's grab the JBC, and now the JBC I am going to have to manually, it doesn't have these, it may have presets if I were to read the manual and try to figure out how to do that. What I do all day, every day, is to just kind of manually set it at some temperature, and this is generally how I set this up. So the JBC has 1,000 abilities that I don't use, which means it has a manual mode, which is what I do use, and then it has a profile mode. So you can set it up here in the menu. You can set it up to engage in a profile, and you can set it up to also start when you first take it off of the holder. But I don't like it to start when I first take it off of the holder. I want to use the button to turn it on myself. I don't know, the Quick doesn't appear to have a button, so you may not have that option. I like to kind of get my nozzle situated under the microscope and then click this red button to hit go. If you did that, then you could set this up if you had a profile where you wanted it to kind of ramp up to temperature and then stick at a certain temperature. If you were doing the same chip again and again and again and you wanted it to be really reproducible, then the JBC allows you to do that stuff. The JBC also has a suction cup. I've never used that, and it has a little extractor so that you could, in theory, use vacuum suction to take the chips off. And it also has, on the side here, some USB output if you wanted to kind of save or keep data on that stuff. So it's super powerful in ways that I don't use for practical microsoldering. So do we want to pay $1,500 for something that has a lot of stuff we're not going to use? I don't know. All right, so let's go ahead and do the exact same thing here with the JBC. So I am going to put some flux on this chip. Q's Tech Services. I've never used the profile settings either. I haven't, and it also has some other cool features that I've never used. It has a foot pedal start, which I've never used, which sounds pretty cool. Okay, so now let's do the same thing where I'm going to shine our little temperature reader here on the mason chip, which right now it's 32 degrees Celsius, 31 degrees. And now let's kind of get in here. Maybe we can get maybe this will work a little bit better because I have that bent nozzle on the JBC. So we can kind of read the air conditioner meter, 50 degrees, 51 degrees. (61 degrees), which is nowhere near what actual temperature it really is. Let's look in the microscope. And I'm looking in the microscope now, and I can see that some solder around has turned a little bit shiny, which means it's well over 200. Now it says 106 degrees. 99 degrees. Okay, so this thing is silly. All right, so let's get in here and take this chip off. To me, I really love this handle. You know, it's not worth $1,500 just to have the handle that you like, but it just feels very, very stable, and I feel really well connected to it. All right, so we can take that chip off. To me, under the microscope, this felt, you know, I use this every day, so this felt very controlled, and it felt like a really nice ramp up to the temperature. The Quick, which I've just used for the first time now, I would say was too hot at 360. So the next time I would go down 10 degrees and adjust that way, because it's always going to be different. How far is your nozzle from the actual chip? Are you slightly to the side? So there's no science behind what temperature do I set it up on. You have to figure that out through practice and kind of figure out which temperature works for your personal style of soldering. All right, so now we've got the chip off here, and honestly they felt pretty similar. I'm impressed with how the Quick station is certainly a workhorse. It's very high powered. It is, I wasn't hurting for it to, you know, it's not hot enough. It's some of the pencil style hot air rework stations tend to be just cool, underpowered stations. You can have them on max, and it's really, really difficult to deliver enough heat to the area. The Quick, if anything, it's on the hot side, so you want to work with it and to figure out what is the kind of temperature ramp up that you want to see on those chips. All right, so let's stick those aside. All right, next challenge, let's see what does it take to get shields off with both of these stations. So getting shields off is going to be another kind of, you know, garden variety thing that we do every day, and it requires really high heat because you kind of want to sear these shields off. So let's move this out of the way. And I've got two boards here that I'm going to try and do some data recovery on. They have water damage, and so they need to have the shields off. All right, let's see. iPad Rehab, have you had a chance to check out the new model of the JBC that has the small buttons? Nope. I generally don't like new and change. So I love the JBC a lot, but it's expensive. And I don't think that the difference between the sort of the better build quality and the sort of, I don't know what the word is, the sophistication of the handpiece is worth, it's worth a $1,200 price difference between the JBC and the Quick. I think the Quick does a great job, and at a fraction of the price, that's certainly what I would get. In fact, I'm a little torn, even, you know, for me right now. I have I think 3 JBCs. One was absconded by Jean, and she took it home to work from home. One was absconded by Mark. He took it in the back, and it has become his station. And then there's mine. So when I want to work from home, I take the JBC home with me. So now that we have a whole bunch of these quick stations, it's a really tough call. Do I love the JBC so much that I would pay so much, would I pay $1,500 for one to have at home, or will I just take home one of the quick stations? And so far I'm going to take home one of the quick stations and see if I can kind of just, get used to it, because I think it works really well. All right, so let's see what does it take to get these shields off. So these boards are both iPhone 6 boards, and they are, both water damage boards. So we're gonna kind of see that. So you guys can do some timing for me. Actually, maybe I can do some timing. Let's see if I can get a timer, because that's what I would like to see here. How long does it take to get these shields off? I want to get them off quick. I want to kind of like searing a steak, high heat, get them off. So let's do a stopwatch. All right, so this I will have ready, and I'm going to set this up so that I can take off these shields. All right, here we go. Let's grab some tweezers, and we're going to start with a cold board. I'm going to start with the CPU shield. All right, so for the quick, I am going to go to a different channel here. I'm going to set up my channel 3, and let's see what the max temperature that it could have. So 500, the JBC max is 450. 500 might be a little hot, I don't know. So I'm going to go to 450, since that is what I use on the JBC. And then I'll leave this air at 100. Now the JBC nozzle is larger than the quick, so I'm going to switch out to the largest nozzle, and I'm going to guess that I have to turn off the station so that it doesn't turn on when I take this off. So let's see, what does it take to change this. Let's Mr. Miyagi this fly. All right, let's see. I think that this should just kind of snap in to some degree. All right, so we'll get rid of the general one. I don't like this. This is, to switch nozzles back and forth. I would see if it would be possible to just use that nozzle to get shields off safely. I would kind of research that, and I don't know the answer to that right now. All right, so this is now automatically heating up because I have the handpiece here. So let's let that come up to temperature, and then we will start our stopwatch. We'll get rid of the laser temperature thing. That was a fail. All right, and I don't have a good way to let you see this, but I will report on it. So I'm going to come over here and grab my board so that I'm ready. All right, now let's hit start. This, to me, that airflow sounds low, so I'm going to take it up to the max. All right, that sounds better. Sound is also one of your kind of, tells. All right, let's take off the shield. Ready, set, go. So I'm just going to go around and around the board with the gravity method and take off this shield. All right, stop. That took 11.72 seconds. Now, while the board is still warm, I'm going to go for the big, hard to do shield. So let's reset that, and let me get a grab on it, and go. So we're going to go around and take off the difficult shield on this iPhone 6, the bottom shield on the top side of the board. Now there is going to be a little bit of kind of just technical difference between these two, because when you're taking off this shield to stop, you kind of have to guess where is the sticking point on the shield and kind of go back and forth in that area. All right, so I'm going to rack this and see if I get a buy one get one free with the other shield on the other side, and I do. All right, so I got all the shields off. That bottom shield took 32 seconds. So that I thought was fantastic, honestly. That was great. Let's look under the microscope and see if we have any, you know, kind of problems from that shield removal. This board, I can tell, has already been treated with, I think this is what happens when you put the board in ethanol instead of isopropyl alcohol. It tends to kind of degrade the little top covers on these chips. So that is a function of somebody sitting this board in ethanol. That's my guess. I don't think that's related in any way to us taking off the shield with a quick. All right, that all looks fine. No problems there. This all looks fine. This discoloration here on one of the, let me make that darker. Come on, get dark. There we go. This discoloration is typical. It doesn't really bother anything, but that is from the hot air process. And anything going on up here? Nope. So chestnut, again, sort of lost its little hat. Okay, so that's that. Let's do the same exact thing with the JBC. And see what kind of temperature differences we get. All right, so quick, go over there. Let's go back, wake up the camera again. Wake up. Okay, so now we're gonna set the JBC for shield removal. So I don't have the presets that the Quick has, so I'm gonna have to manually come over here and I'm gonna take it up to max, which is 450, so the same temperature, and then I'm gonna put it at max airflow, which is 100. Now, instead of trying to take the chip off with this nozzle, I will take that off and I'm gonna use the naked hot air wand with no nozzle. That's sort of my big nozzle, and I really like this for taking shields off with the JBC. Okay, so let's set this back up so that we can kind of get an estimate between the time that it takes to remove the shields. All right, so we've got the stopwatch ready here, and I'm gonna grab this top CPU shield, and I'm gonna hit start on here and start on here. Now we're going to take this off and see how long it takes. All right, stop. Okay, 17 seconds instead of 11 seconds, so pretty similar, but the JBC, that I think 6 seconds difference is enough to kind of account for just, you know, the variation between times that you do that. If you sat here and did a whole bunch of them, you probably have less than a 6-second variation in all of these. Let's check in on chat to see if you guys are, Jessa, your microscope camera is out of focus. Great, so there's an iPad rehab socks video that you can put all your complaints over there. That'll be great, thanks. Okay, let's go ahead and do this bottom shield. So I'm gonna grab the bottom shield here, and let's hit start. Now nozzle size, this nozzle is about at least twice as big as the one that was on the Quick for shield removal. So I'm sure that it will take longer with the JBC because we're not really kind of comparing apples to apples since that nozzle size is different. But this is how I routinely take shields off, so I wanted to really compare how I would take shields off with the JBC versus how I would take shields off. All right, stop. And that was 42 seconds instead of 32 seconds. So it was 10 seconds longer to take the shield off. Let's hit stop on this, rack it, and before this cools down, flip this board over and see if we get our buy one get one free on the back shield And we do. All right, so now we've got the shields off over here. So let's take a look and see if there's any sort of negative consequence over here from taking the shield off. That all looks pretty standard. Nobody got too hot. Let's look over here. We have less discoloration on these baseband chips, but I've had them get discolored before. Let's look at the battery connector. So with the JBC, the battery connector down here on the 6 tends to sometimes get a little melty, and we can see that it's a little bit melty here. And let's compare back to the one that we did with a Quick and compare that battery connector. That's more melty, which makes sense. I think that the Quick delivered more heat at a faster airflow from the way that we set it up. But honestly, I would say for this shield removal that with effort we could set this up and they would really be very equivalent. There was definitely not any kind of deficit from the cheaper Quick. Definitely not. I mean, I think it did fantastic. All right, so I would have no problem with either of those. I can't think of anything else to show you. My opinion here is that the Quick for its price is fantastic, and the JBC, my dearly beloved JBC, I'll continue to use, but even I would have a hard time justifying. God, fucking fly! I would have a hard time justifying getting another JBC for home rather than using the Quick. I'll probably take one of the Quicks home. What I love about the Quick is the presets. What I don't like about it is the nozzle, and I really don't like that it starts when I take it off of the rack. I don't like that. So I'm gonna see whether or not there is a setting that makes it not do that. I'm not sure that there will be, because I don't see any button around here. None of this looks like it would be a way for me to turn it on. So it may not have a way other than when I take it off of the rack, it starts to go. What I love about the JBC is the ergonomics and sophistication of this handle, and what I really love is the bent nozzles. I don't like to work with a Barlow lens. I like that kind of closed in, very detailed hand-eye coordination when you're looking at something very close to you. So the bent nozzle is a huge win for the JBC, which is why we're making bent nozzles for the Quick, so that I could also have the Quick, instead of holding it like that, I could use it at an angle, and I think that would feel a lot better. Let's turn this off and really kind of compare the hand pieces. So they don't look that dissimilar, but under the microscope, this is huge, and the JBC is much finer. I like how the JBC cradle allows me to adjust it so that I can kind of make this hose be however I want it to be. The Quick hose is always going to kind of be like in your face to some degree. If you stick it up here on top of the thing, that seems kind of weird. Now in China, I love what they do in China. They take this entire Quick and they put it up high, and then they just pull the nozzle down, like straight down, and they do it like that. I think that's a pretty good setup if you're going to use the Quick. And since there is some phone that has decided to play some kind of alarm, I'm going to get out of here. So let me read this. Jessa, you put hair on the microphone. Throw that again. There's the iPad Rehab Sucks video for all of your complaints. Let's see. And this means nothing because neither was calibrated to actual temp versus displayed. Right. But none of that's important. This is not science. This is art. So it really doesn't matter about calibration. It matters about how the sound, the sight, how the flux bubbles. Because every time, if your angle is this today and this tomorrow, is a huge difference. So you have to learn how to read the situation on the board and respond. If you have more flux flux today and less flux tomorrow. It will be completely different. So you have to kind of learn how to read the board. All right, let's see. Lewis come flying with me, but that would freak him out. Yes, it would. Have you ever replaced the heating element in your JBC? No. I have 3 JBCs. I have never had to replace the heating element in any of them. I also don't do things like take the JBC and shove shit into it like LCD connectors, unlike other people that I know. So I have not had to replace any of the heating elements on the JBCs. And I've had, you know, like one of them, I don't know if it's this one or the other one, but, you know, at least one of them is well over 2 years old, maybe even 3 years old by now. All right, let's see. Chris Long says he's going to show the AOUE off on Monday and then make all the haters show some respect. Good luck with that. Here's the thing with the AOUE. Everybody buys that to start out with. When I started soldering with that, I'm going to go turn off this goddamn phone. What the heck? Mark. Guess Mark fixed that Samsung. So the thing with the you know, why is the AOUE a poor choice in my opinion? One, I think the build quality is really poor. So like I was telling a customer today where they had one of the crappy batteries, and I was like, yeah, these batteries are generally crappy. He's like, should I change it? And I'm like, no, because they're crappy because the bin of them have a lot of crappy ones in there. So if the guy drew out one that wasn't crappy, good, you got lucky. And if you've been using it for a long time with no problems, then you got one of the good ones in a bin that's got a lot of crappy ones in the mix. So it's not uncommon to get a crappy one, but if you get a good one, fantastic, good for you, you got lucky. It's the same thing with the sort of cheaper hot air stations. It's really easy to get a crappy one. So if you get a crappy one, how are you going to know, especially if you're a beginner? If you get a good one, fantastic. If it works for you, great, keep using it. But if you get a crappy one, how are you going to know? And that's what really got me when I was first starting to learn how to use hot air to do micro BGA chips. I believed the stupid number on the thing. And so I would think, why isn't this chip coming off? Because that thing says that I'm putting 500 degrees Celsius on this chip. Well, you know, if I was actually putting 500 degrees Celsius on the chip, the chip would come off. That's just how heat, temperature, and solder work. So if it's not melting, it's not 500 degrees. But I was too inexperienced to recognize that. And so if I count up all of the dollar value in boards that were repairable, that I made unrepairable because I was trying to learn using a station that was, you know, I didn't know if it was crappy or not. I didn't know how close the heat was to what it said it was when apparently it was a couple hundred degrees different. I ruined something like $3,000 worth of repairable boards that I was buying to fix that I turned into donor boards because I was too inexperienced to read the situation and to really understand that. And I really wish that I had started out with a better station, a new station that that would have been more likely to have just worked right out of the box than the one that I started with. So Jessa, tell them we've been shitting on the FR810 for almost 3 years. The 810 is also a very powerful station and some people really love it. But I mean, like sitting here with the JBC, I've never read the manual. I've never really investigated how all of its cool features could help me, and I'm sure they could. And maybe one day I will if I start doing, you know, different devices that really require those kind of can you do handheld BGA profiles? Probably, you know, with effort. I haven't had a reason to kind of go down that road, so I've never read the manual, but I use it every day. The Quick, I don't even know if it has a manual. I certainly didn't read it if it did, and it's just incredibly intuitive, so I really like that. The 810, we have one here for students to use, and we've had to get the manual out many times because somebody will push some non-intuitive set of buttons, and then it's goes to profile mode and you don't know how to get it out of profile mode, and it's really unclear. You'll like hit the button and it will start it's showing you in the same display the temperature, and then it'll start some countdown. I didn't set up it. I don't. Why are you doing? Just be normal, just be manual, just let me hit the thing, set the temperature and go. But it will get itself, if you I don't even know how they do it, but students do it all the time, so it must be easy. It'll get in its profile mode, so it'll go up to what you think is, let's say, 320 degrees, and then it will start changing the number, and you don't know if it is counting down the seconds or if it's actually declining in temperature. So there's just the interface alone makes the 810, while mechanically very sound, the interface is so annoying. If I owned one and used it every day, then I would think what I'm saying right now is just stupid, because how hard is it to figure out how to use the thing so that you don't keep triggering this weird crap? But that's just kind of my experience with it. That was weird. Chat disconnected and yet stream continued. I don't know about that. Chris Long says he's used the Quick. He doesn't see much difference in it based on the settings I use versus my AOUE. Great job getting lucky, Chris. Good job being lucky. I don't think you can recommend that everyone be lucky. That's just, like, you can buy this, but you also have to be lucky, so good luck. I think that's silly. Louis Rossman likes shoving stuff where it doesn't belong. So Q's tech service has also never replaced his heating element. And maybe that's what you're paying for in the JBC. So that's a good point. And the reason why I waited so long, we've owned a Quick for over a year, to actually sit down and, to make the arrangement to start selling these things, was because at this price, something is wrong. That when you are putting together a station that has the performance of the Quick, it's kind of like a shell game. In order to come up with this price, if it works this well, something else has to be really, really shitty about it, which is I'm starting to think it's customer service from the guys that work at Quick, which we can deal with. That's not really customer facing, but it is gonna have something else, like either it's not safe, which so far nobody has hurt themselves and it's not electrocuted anybody, any of the ones that we've been using, and either that or the build quality is going to be low, so that over time vibrations make things come loose and it stops working. And so far we haven't seen that. So these get used by students 5 days in a row all day constantly, and still works just like it did when it was new. So that's why we are, we used to sit here and talk about what are we going to recommend for a long time, the $650 Weller, Hako, some of these older, we have some analog Metcals that we like, we like just fine. But for the price, the Quick is an easy decision. All right, Chris Long has calibrated his a few times. Jessa Jones, Paul Daniels, I predict that iPad Rehab will sell more Quick than Lewis. Yeah, that's right. So make sure that you buy your Quick from iPad Rehab and not from, Louis Rossman, because I certainly would hate to have to hear the constant stream of bragging about that. Yeah, so this is going to be an easy win when we start our contest. So let's see. He's so funny because he's like, he of course didn't know about bent nozzles, which is really, really important, until I forwarded him an email, and then he found out about them, and then of course he's smart enough to try to order them too. But given how shitty Quick customer service is, I certainly know that he is not having his bent nozzles fabricated for him in his dimensions. Since he also doesn't fix iPhones, he doesn't really even know which nozzle sizes would be appropriate, and I'm not going to tell him that. He can figure that out on his own. All right. let's see. Let's see. Is Jessa a JBC rep? No. What are you doing? Turning off the phone? Can you share a few words on why a cheap $100 station is useless? We like, I mean, I'm a scientist, so I like to give everything the benefit of the doubt. So when we started the course, we also bought 2 of the $88 really cheap ones because we wanted to see. And out of the box, I can remember it was when Jason Gann was here, and I remember Jason Gann saying, "This is amazing. Everyone should get one of these." Both of those stations were in the trash can 30 days later. So that it's the same thing where at times they can be fantastic and work great, and you think everybody should have one, but they just have really no ability to be consistent over time. And they will break, the heating element just quits working very, very quickly. And it does the same thing where instead of keeping a very even, predictable temperature so that you do the same job and it becomes very routine and you know exactly what to expect from your station, it is all over the place where now it's hot, now I'm cold, now it's hot, now it's cold. And it kind of, averages out. Then that average goes up or down, and it's really, really kind of tough. Stop that camera, I can't stand you. All right, and when I had the AOUE, I did have to replace the heating element, which was a real bitch because the thing is all in one station. So it had the hot air and then it had the soldering side. So you needed to use the soldering iron in order to replace the hot air station, and that didn't work. So I ended up having to go buy a Radio Shack soldering iron just to solder in the new heating element in my good old AOUE. But I did replace it, and it still continued to work. I ended up giving it to Sonny Lynn in New York, and as far as I know, he still uses it. All right, let's see. Let's be honest, these hot air stations are simple design. If I really wanted, I could take a quick pump and cram it in the AOUE. Oh, I'm sure you could. All right. I knew about bent nozzles from when I copied and pasted them from you-know-what. From email I sent you, I know. Which you don't even appreciate. Like, that is really nice of me to do. I also sent you the email where I am telling you that I threw you under the bus with those guys. I could have not done that. Let's see. Do you sell them in store? Yes. What we're trying to do is to really accommodate the students here. So everybody comes for course week, and everybody's excited, and everybody you try all this stuff, and so we sell a lot of stuff that just make your life easier. So the DC power supply squid, these things are just incredibly useful. And these come in all sorts of flavors. So we did a lot of work to find what is the least shitty of this relatively shitty product from China. We sell a lot of those. We sell a lot of board holders that are kind of your favorite kind. My favorite stencil, paste, things like that are tweezers, things that freeze spray that are hard to know which one to get. Chris Long's heating element plugs in. There you go, Chris Long, lucky again, just getting lucky. All right. Do you like Pace products? Yes. I just ordered the 2 Pace 325. Never tried them. Pace guys are hilarious though. They sent both me and Lewis this little card. They made this little videos to try to get us to recommend them and sell this stuff, which was really funny because of course we compared notes, and it was like my little letter and his little letter were almost identical, except they called him like bro or something, and then they didn't on mine, but they were a hoot. He called them back and had a nice chat with them for a long time. But that's the thing. Pace is made in the U.S., which is fantastic. I love supporting American jobs, and they made that really crystal clear that, hey, we're charging a lot of money for our products because they are made by, support local biz, which is fantastic, and I'm a big fan of that. But for me, I can support local business by empowering local people, meaning people that have shops in the US, to learn how to do these jobs with an affordable station like the Quick. And then they'll be able to support themselves and their employees by extending the kinds of repairs they can offer by doing microsoldering. I'd rather do that, and I think that's far bigger bang for your buck on support local biz than have to pay or recommend that people pay the 5 people that work at Pace that all also want to support their family. So I think that it's fantastic. You know, if you want to buy Pace, absolutely buy Pace. They know what they're doing. They've been around a long time, and I have not tried their stuff, but I would guess that they make quality products. But, you know, in this case, I'm going to go for recommending the Chinese-produced piece of equipment that's going to empower so many people to be able to extend what they can offer for repair. All right, let's see. People hear brand name immediately reference only from those god-awful blowers. All right, let's see. Those are junk. I'm not really sure. Oh, they make hot tweezers that burn your hand. Oh, the Pace. Well, they were forthcoming about that. I mean, you got to give them that. They're like, here's our hot tweezers. How much are you going to use them? Because they kind of burn your hand. Thanks. You know, I think that's pretty funny. Will you sell the bent nozzles by themselves? Yes. You know, I mean, everybody should have bent nozzles for these things. So we will absolutely sell bent nozzles. And if you have an opinion on, you know, if you use Quick and you kind of are like, oh, I wish it had this, then let me know in the comments on this video so that we can have them fabricate whatever exact angle and size of nozzles that you guys think are important. All right, excellent. My money will go to iPad Rehab, yay, rather than Lewis Rossman, because your store is easier to get to. Fantastic, come on over. I know a guy who ruined his motherboard with a welding torch. He said proper reflow station is a waste, cash. If you can use a gas torch to remove the chip. Yep, there you go. You need a station with a pump, not a fan in the handle. Pressure is everything. So this guy Handy Parts has Pace, and he's in Australia. Great station. And this guy says that he is excited about his Quick that's on the way. Alrighty, so that is really what I wanted to show you guys. Just that we have our Quicks have arrived. They're in stock, and especially if you're coming to take the course, you know, that's really our plan is really to have things available for students at Practical Board Repair School to take home with them and get started right away. So we are on that, and you'll hear more from us. We will not be selling bent nozzles until I have them in hand, unlike other people that sell this stuff. So if you see something listed on our website, then it means it will ship, and it is in hand, and we've looked at it, tested it, and it is what we want to recommend. Otherwise, we are going to just, you know, delete that and never do it. Alrighty, this is it, and now I'm going to go recover these boards.